regarding Zoran Mamdani's victory yesterday as mayor of New York. I'm not sure whether I'm more stunned that they would elect a blatant anti-Semite who, as I've said repeatedly, referred to Israel as an apartheid state, referred to Israel's battle with Hamas as a genocide, says that he would arrest Bibi Netanyahu if he set foot on American soil, supports boycott, divest, sanction with Chuck Schumer, and the Anti-Defamation League have both referred to as anti-Semitic. We played you yesterday that 3-minute rally he had in New York where he yelled and screamed about BDS, BDS. I'm not sure it surprises me more that an anti-Semite was elected as mayor of New York as I am that a socialist was elected mayor of the center of capitalism in the world. A man who talks about free buses, free childcare, freezing the rent on 2 million New Yorkers, suggesting that white wealthy people pay more taxes than non-white wealthy people. The man, to my knowledge, has never run a hot dog stand. And here he is suggesting that he can lower the cost of living in New York by doing the kinds of things that will only increase scarcity and therefore increase the cost of living for New Yorkers. I'm not sure which one stunned me more. The idea that you can run a government-run grocery store with same quality of food as a privately run grocery store boggles the mind. It suggests somebody has no idea of how difficult it is to run a business. At least 50% of new businesses fail within the first 4 or 5 years. Many others struggle. They can meet a payroll but not make a lot of money. It is hard to profitably run a business. And grocery stores operate on a very thin margin, which means if your costs go up, or if theft goes up, or insurance goes up because of theft, you could very well get run out of business. I ran a business for 14 years. It was a headhunting business. I placed lawyers with law firms and corporations. And it took me almost 5 years to really understand the business. And there was a period where I was going through a very difficult time. And I have a friend named Alan Schoenberg, who is the McDonald's of executive search firms. At the time that I last spoke with him, he had about 700 of them. He co-founded something called Management Recruiters. I believe it was, and I think it still is, the largest executive recruiting firm in the world. Headquartered in Cleveland, where I lived for almost 17 years. Alan and I were friends. And from time to time, he would have lunch with me. We'd talk business. He liked me. And I was going through a really hard, difficult patch running my business. So I called Alan, asked him if he'd had lunch with me, and right away he did, as he always did whenever I called him. And I spent maybe a half hour complaining about this, complaining about that, complaining about this, complaining about that, and he very patiently listened. And when I was done, I expected him to say, Larry, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. You know what he said? I can't tell you what to do because I don't know. I never placed lawyers. I placed other kinds of people other than lawyers. But I can tell you this. You're too smart not to know what to do. Figure it out. Take charge. Make the kinds of decisions that you know you need to make, but for whatever reason you haven't had the courage to do them. Figure it out. Now, are you going to have dessert? So I went back and I made a number of changes. Got rid of somebody who was unproductive, altered my prices, talked to my landlord and got him to negotiate my lease down a little bit. And within about a month or two, things turned around and I never looked back. Ultimately, I sold the business and came out here to California to get into TV and radio, something I was doing already in Cleveland a little bit. My point is, it is not easy to run a business. We've talked about that store in Kansas City that was a government-owned store. The quality was bad. Inventory was bad. The theft was sky high. And pretty soon, it was gone. Don't know how much it cost in taxpayer money, but I'm sure it was quite a bit. If there were successful government-run stores, there would be successful government-run stores. They don't exist. The way to improve quality, to improve prices, to improve accessibility is something called competition. It applies with grocery stores, it applies with cars, it applies with flat-screen TVs, it applies, by the way, with healthcare. I'm reminded of an article that George McGovern wrote in the Wall Street Journal back in 1992. George McGovern was the Democrats' candidate for president in 1972. He was as left-wing a candidate for president as anybody ever nominated from a major party. And he was in the Senate for a very long period of time. He lost the election, remained in the Senate, and then retired. Went on the speaking circuit, spoke at a lot of colleges, came to my college to speak once. And he made quite a bit of money on the lecture circuit. And he put that money into an inn in Connecticut. Always wanted to operate one. It was his dream to do so. And he wrote a column about how the business went bankrupt. He said he invested most of his earnings, consulted with some of the best people on how he could acquire a leasehold on something called the Connecticut's Stratford Inn Hotel and Restaurants. And he said that his experience found that he had to live with federal, state, and local rules. They were all passed with the objective of helping employees, protect the environment, raising money for schools, all of which he agreed with. But he said, I never really understood the trade-off. And it is a simple concern that, quote, is nonetheless often ignored by legislatures. He said his business went bankrupt for a variety of reasons, but there were a variety of factors that drove operating costs and financing charges beyond what a small business can handle. He says, I only wish I had had this kind of experience before I was in the Senate, passing all sorts of rules and regulations that burden business people and make it difficult for business people to operate profitably. It is a lesson that Mamdani has never learned, but eventually he will learn it from other people, the other people whose money, taxpayer money, he takes to operate a store or grocery stores. They're going to fail. And the idea that you can give people free bus service, are the bus drivers going to drive for free? Will the people that maintain the bus maintain it for free? Will the people that supply gas for the bus give it for free? It is absurd. It is silly. It is juvenile. That and the fact that he's anti-Semite seems to me should have been a foregone conclusion that this man has no business being mayor of New York.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.